What's good? Mo Wilkes here. Welcome. We're inside the Studio 889. And actually, just chopping it up with a cool person who's actually not only a local college professor, he's also a multi-digital media artist. He actually has an upcoming show he's going to be at the Museum of Science. It's called Live Under the Dome. And I'm really, interested in getting into this award-winning multimedia artist from Boston. He's done some cultural things, and we're gonna find out and try to pull from him what he's about and what we can expect at this Live Under the Dome. So welcome to Studio 889, Cliff Notez. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate the right hand. So let's just dive into who you are. For people who don't know, you've got an interesting name, by the way.
Thank you.
Cliff Notez. I was thinking to myself, I'm looking up, doing my research. I'm like, well, I guess that's his name. How did you come? Is it A, and B? How did you come up with this concept? Does it have some kind of underlying meaning that people don't necessarily know about?
It's been my name since I was a kid. My family calls me that. Cliff Notes, for anyone who's under the age of 20.
It's the abbreviation. It's kind of just the abbreviated stuff. Yeah. It's not necessarily the meat and potatoes of it. It's just give me a summary of what you are. They're like, give me a thumbnail.
Yeah.
But you're deeper than just the thumbnail, so.
I think that's exactly what it is, too. It's
a play on.
Cliff Notes is the very quick, if you want a quick understanding of who I am, Cliff Notes. But if you sit with it, there's a whole 3,000-page book there that even sometimes I forget about.
We ain't got 3,000 pages worth of time, so give me the Cliff Notes on Cliff Notes, if you will.
Yeah, so I grew up always surrounded by multimedia, just media and art in all of its form. What it was my parents didn't know what to do with my hyperactive behind. And
I've seen some of that energy from time to time around here. I can relate. Okay.
Yeah, so it was like, what can we do? So they stuck me in every after-school program they could think of. And if I wasn't in after-school programming, I was just being babysat by my sisters who were also doing after-school programming. So when they were dancing, I was there in the dance studios with them, just like the super tall little brother of those sisters that were also tall. So it started with theater, it started with music, then eventually got my hands on cameras when I was around 13, 14 years old. Was drawing and painting all throughout that process. A large part of my life too was being a basketball player, which helped me get into college. This height wasn't for no reason at one point. But when I got into college, I eventually got hurt, and I was like, all right, what am I going to do with my life?
What was your position, by the way? What position did you
I'm a
play?
guard forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got some handle?
Of course.
Okay. Making sure.
Of course. I got hurt, and I needed to figure out what was next. If all this energy I was putting into basketball, where am I going to put that energy now? And I was like, all right, let's go to all the things that we just considered hobbies, try and make those into real jobs. That was when I was a freshman, sophomore year of college. Maybe a year or two later, I ended up meeting Russell Simmons and working with Def Jam, producing and doing video work for All Def Digital and Argyle Culture for a few years. That was with Shane Romero. Very brief point in my life, but it also opened up a lot of. Actually, it wasn't that brief. It was for a few years. I just was going down memory lane, and I was I forgot how long I was working there for. But yeah, was there pretty much a 19, 20-year-old just doing whatever was told, seeing all these folks that I had seen on VH1 and MTV, and I'm like, oh snap!
You're literally in the room with them and just working.
They're tweeting out my work, and I'm like, this is wild. So that was a great start at 20 years old. A few years after that, went to Northeastern, got my grad degree, and while I was there, that's when I started Hipstery, which is what led to all this stuff that I'm here in Boston doing.
So for people who don't know what Hipstery is.
Yeah, Hipstery is we're a multimedia digital production company, and we are also event curators. So we do everything from curating the stage across the street from us at the Uncommon Stage, to also planning events with the MFA. We did a event series at Agora. We just started this new program called We Black Folk, which has taken a lot of legs.
So, I want to talk about that.
Yeah. So what Hipstery is now is basically an incubator for other companies or other programs that we're starting and opening those doors up. So we have an event series out in New Bedford, which we had helped develop with the start of Found on Fridays at the Frame Shop, which is Nick Martin, who's a hipstery long timer, like literally one of the first people at Hipstery. Helped get that frame shop off the ground in New Bedford, and that's event series. C4 was just out there performing there last week.
So when you say you give the Cliff Notes,
yeah, I'm saying
you got a lot of stuff going on. So I think you have to give them, because it's like no disrespect, but I'm just like, yo, you got a lot of stuff. What do you think? You got a lot of different avenues, a lot of different media that you gravitate to. I mean, in this new incarnation, or if it is just a continued flow, what would you say is, your go-to? Is it music? Is it multimedia production? What has been your go-to?
I don't think that there is one.
Yeah.
I really would like to say that there is, but there isn't. I think the fact that I have all these different lanes allows me to not get stuck in any one lane.
And no box, okay.
Exactly. Not even just the box, but also like when I think about music and when I'm writing music, I deal with a lot of students that like run into writer's block, which is something I've never run into in my life. It's because if I run into writer's block, I'm like, all right, I'm not going to force this. I'm just going to go paint, or I'm just going to go make a film or something. And I guarantee that through that process, I'll be able to figure out whatever the song was that I was stuck on.
Have multiple different things that you love to do. You find that love and that inspiration, that'll actually help, usher that voice out of you to maybe, go back to something else that's part of you.
Yeah.
And share that.
They're all serving one message or one story in the long run. And if we're just getting stuck in speaking in one language, and if I can translate it into this other world, I'll be able to see some other ways of seeing that first translation.
So I'm going to ask you to do something you don't want to do.
Okay.
What is the voice of Cliff Notes? What are you trying to say, even if in all these different languages?
Ooh, great question. I think that there's been an ongoing need of belonging and feeling kind of boxed out. And I think a lot of it is, some of it is part of my own doing, and being in so many different lanes. Like you hear the term master of, jack of all trades, master of none. I feel like I'm a master of all of them, but at the same time, to get to that point has taken me having to separate myself in these different ways. Whereas like someone who grew up playing music their whole life, they have their music friends, and so now I'm like trying to master these different relationships in different ways. So I think that a lot of what I've been trying to do with Cliff Notes and the message has been preaching this message of belonging, which translates in a lot of different ways. We could talk about that through racism. We could talk about that through colorism. We could talk about that through sexism. We could talk about that through homophobia and all these different ways. But I think that is probably the number one thing, is trying to figure out a space of belonging, and also creating value for folks that feel like they are minorities or are minorities in these different places.
Thank you. Chopping it up with Cliff Notes. He's got a production called Live Under the Dome. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. You kind of tapped onto something that I saw you in, that you've been doing. That's a voice that doesn't always get shown, especially in places like Boston, especially for melanated people like ourselves. And that's blacks connected to folk music.
Oh yeah.
It's an original music that a lot of people don't necessarily understand that comes from us. Share your wee black folk, if you would, with people with Studio 889 that don't necessarily know, but because I think it's fascinating. I actually saw some stuff you've done online, and I think it's wonderful.
Thank you. I think folk music. So for folks who have followed my career for at least the last 10 years.
How does a brother get into folk?
Exactly.
Come on.
And I think that that's exactly what attracted me to it the most, was like, you see somebody who has been forward facing, like a hip hop artist. I think I've always been frustrated when I see like a headline that's like hip hop artist Cliff Notes, because it's like, damn well I'm not just a hip hop artist, but it's okay. But I've always been trying to push people's expectations of what they expect of blackness. And folk music, I think, is something that on the surface comes off as so far from blackness, but when you dig a little bit deeper, you understand that it is blackness.
Hello, like in the movie Sinners, they consulted.
That's exactly
what's
it.
What's homegirl's name? She's escaping me. Is it Rhiannon Giddens?
Yeah, Rhiannon Giddens.
She was actually one of the consultants, and she did some music, and she's very, very heavily rooted in folk music.
So Rhiannon Giddens was in that. Layla McCullough was also in that. She's a Haitian folk artist. We just had her up in Boston for We Black Folk a couple months ago.
Okay.
So there's a lot of folks who exist in the folk world, and And what was interesting was when we first announced We Black Folk in our first event, on the night of that first event last February, last year, February 24 was when Beyonce announced that she was putting out a country album. And I was like, okay, we're not the only ones thinking this way. And if one of the biggest artists in the world are thinking this way, I know that I'm right in this thinking. And country music and folk music is oftentimes like
cousins.
It's oftentimes set off to the side like that ain't our music. And I'm like, no, it is our music. They convinced us that it wasn't our music. So me jumping into that is like another. How do we belong? Like, we belong in this space. Not only do we belong in this space, it's ours, and how do we reclaim it and also open it up for more folks so that the next 10, 12-year-old can see, all right, it's not just basketball. Like, when I was young, either you slinging crack walk or you got a wicked jump shot. Damn. And that's what I saw when I was younger. Now it's like, all right, we got guitars, we got banjos, we got pianos, we got saxophones, all these different outlets that you can now see all these representations of who you can be for the future. That's what my goal is.
So you try to help people see that we fit everywhere. We can fit every genre. Mm-hmm. We are the genre. We are, in a lot of cases, we are the genre. Yes, you're definitely very, very accurate with that. Mm-hmm. And I hope that you continue with that. Mm-hmm. That's interesting because you started out probably in a space that was like, okay, I'm going to go the normal route or the route that people expect, b-ball. And then somehow suddenly you wind up. Did it open up a lot of these other worlds, or were you always part of those worlds just because, like you said, your family and the arts were closely connected?
I was always part of those worlds, but because I was a basketball player first from like 14 or 12 to 21, it was.
Were you allowed to say, "Hey, I like folk music"?
I was hiding that. Okay. That. So I was listening to Jam 945 and WERS, but I was going over to the country stations over. And I forgot what it was. I think that they changed it. Maybe it was 98.5.
There was a country 96.9. There was a KLB. There was definitely some country stations. And actually, other than you got your Charlie Pride, but there was a whole litany of other people who were doing country music and doing folk music. You just didn't know. Blues is kind of like early bluesy stuff. Mm-hmm. Is very folky in its presentation.
What I love, I blame WERS for this because I was an avid 88.9 at night listener.
Hopefully you still are.
I still am.
Good.
And they, it only plays during a certain time frame. But I'm listening to the radio more often. So I'm listening to everything else. And 88.9 always plays out there records, and it's stuff that I wouldn't hear. So one of the biggest epiphany moments was when I heard Joni Mitchell's song. I think it was yellow something, and then in WERS 88.9 at night you play Janet Jackson's "Got Till It's Gone" by Q-Tip. Yep. And I'm like, oh, this is sampling that record. Right. This is where it got. So I'd be listening to 88.9 throughout the whole day just so I can get records that I could sample that nobody else would be listening to, and I bring that into hip hop. Okay. So a big part of it was diving back into hip hop, but pulling these record because in earlier hip hop if you had the sample that no one else had, you had the amazing record. So I was always looking for that. Still am always looking for that.
So let's dive into that, because I was actually literally just over at Newport Jazz Festival and I saw De La Soul. Mm-hmm. De La Soul kind of represented, at least at the time, in that period, they were a left turn for hip hop heads who didn't necessarily want to do the Run DMC, didn't necessarily want to do. Even the PE was just a different lane. Did you gravitate to them because they were kind of doing some kind of organic, different forms of hip hop?
I think what it was I grew up in a big family, and I'm the second youngest, and what that afforded me was the ability to sneak into my elder siblings' rooms and look at their record collections.
Oh, so what was in that?
All of my siblings are so different musically tasting. So I had one that's classic hip hop, like De La Soul, Roots, and then I have one that's more hardcore hip hop that brought me into Wu-Tang.
Okay.
Exactly. And then I had another sister that was Evanescence and Metallica and all this other stuff. So I'm seeing all of it, and I'm seeing all of their friend groups come into the house and do these different things, and I'm like, I like all of these friend groups. So for me, it was always just I feel connected to all of these different things, and I feel forced to choose a specific lane. and I don't want to choose a lane. I want to exist in all these lanes. I want to hang out with all my sisters and brothers at one time. I don't want to have to go to just one sister and brother and hang out with them.
Understood. I get you. I get you. So, if somebody was to say, well, to that you kind of already just answered it. So, if somebody was going to say, who passed the baton that you took? Like, in other words, like you're going to pass the baton on the next generation. Who did you receive the baton from that got you to where you are?
Oh, wow. I feel like folks like Prince and Marvin Gaye.
Because Prince liked Joni Mitchell. So,
yeah. Prince was tapped into a lot of different culture. And you saw that towards the end of his career, too, where he was just jumping into almost everything. I feel like folks like that. I feel like Marvin Gaye, if he was allowed to live longer, I feel like he would be on like some trap records right now, and I feel like he would be in like a lot of different places.
He would, because he liked just to go with different genres.
Yeah, because
doing well.
He grew up a Motown person, and then he went to Motown and was like, "I want to do this."
He wanted to break out, and he did that. You know, what's going on?
Exactly.
He was forward thinking. I mean, cats like Curtis Mayfield was just before him, but he was in that same kind of camp of saying, like, you know, hey, this is what's going on, like, literally around me, and storytelling about my people and making music can actually happen too.
And I also feel like Stevie too, especially musically, how he just continued to push and re-innovate, and just wasn't afraid to step outside of his comfort zone. And I think more of probably the most modern example would probably be like somebody who is in multiple different mediums is probably Childish Gambino is the easiest like touch point for the more modern point.
So you got, like I said, you have a lot of people that pass the baton to you.
Yeah,
I knew you were going to say that. I was like thinking about it. I was like, I still need to ask him this question. So Live Under the Dome.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's not Live Under the Dome. It's Live Under the Dome.
Oh, it might be Live too.
All right, so for the folk who don't know what that is, it's going to be over at the Museum of Science. You can give the dates, you can give the times. What can people actually expect when they check you out there?
So it's a once-in-a-lifetime type of show. This is the second time we've done this. We've done it once a year so far. You cannot see this anywhere else. Even if you were to see videos of this show, it does not bring it to life. It's in the planetarium. So it's a full dome of just straight visuals. And this is like a big thing for me too, because I grew up here in the city. My mom used to work at the Museum of Science. Is literally right outside of Duck Tours. My mom used to work there, and so I used to see the light shows and the electricity shows when I was a kid. And now it's one time where you're able to see music and the visual art come together in one medium, which is how I always experience the music. You're going to be able to experience that. We'll have a full band. I think there's 11 people in our band for this. So we've got a bunch of strings, we've got a bunch of horns, we've got a bunch of guitars, and we've got beats. So it's going to be full of sound. And then visually, which I'm really excited about, is building out the Wild Extended Universe, WIILD Extended Universe, which is what we've been working on for the last 3 or 4 years. Cliff Notes, I think, is... I don't usually like to speak in third person, but I look at it as a brand, and there's a bigger umbrella that it exists under, which is the Wild Universe. So we've been developing these characters, developing these cartoons, we've been developing this children's book, and you'll be able to see some of those characters interacting with the dome throughout. There's going to be a scavenger hunt that we have as well, where we give out some prizes to folks that are able to capture those characters. If they capture them with their phone, if they capture all 6 of those characters, then they'll get some prizes as well.
Multi-sensory, multimedia.
Yeah.
How do you think in those
we
terms? We have to make sure it touches everything.
We have to plan it for a year, and even with a year of planning, I still feel like there's more that we could do. So I'm hoping that Museum of Science continues to love us and they bring us back next year. But our goal is that with this Museum of Science show, we're launching a new chapter of the Wild Extended Universe that folks can start to interact with. They'll see it throughout the streets. As always, we always kind of secretly start to put things in different places. And then we'll have an exhibition and we'll continue to roll out some new music.
Do you ever, I mean, it's a great relationship that you have with the Museum of Science. Did you ever think, okay, we want to touch down in places like, the Roxbury corridor? Do you still do stuff in Mattapan or Hyde Park or?
Yeah. So we this show actually, Wild Extended Universe actually started at the Dorchester Art Project.
Oh, okay.
That was our first exhibition of the whole show, where they let us transform the entire space, which was unbelievable. I wish I could go back.
What was the reaction to that?
It was, I think, it was exactly the type of reaction that we wanted. We wanted people, when we want people to interact with our music, we want them to step into a world. So it's not just like, here's a song and all right, I've forgotten about you. It's like, here's a song, here's some art, here's a story that you can dive into, here's some secrets that you can dive into if you want to go down a rabbit hole. And I feel like that creates a more authentic representation of what art is and the art that we're creating. We want to continue to bring it back in different places, in my city specifically in Dorchester, and we also want to get it in new places too, because a lot of the story that is happening is very parallel to what has happened in Dorchester and what is happening in my family's homeland in Haiti. So there's a lot of connections between Haiti and DR, and also in Dorchester as well. So it's a mix of different things.
You're definitely trying to make sure the stories are told, not necessarily just, I guess, uptown, but downtown.
We want them both ways.
Just kind of continuing that multi-representation that you always are doing. Speak to, we're at an interesting, intersection right now for art and for the arts. A lot of arts are,
We're going to talk about AI?
We can talk about whatever you want. I wasn't going to go there. But we can. It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I was listening to something on NPR today, and somebody was talking about he has AI or help him write his poems to his wife, and I'm like, that's probably one of the most personal things you could possibly do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're using like a machine, and I guess he told her, and I guess she was cool with it. But yeah, AI and art. That's part two. But part one, art's kind of like almost on the chopping block, or like a lot of things are being not necessarily funded. Do you are you worried about that, and where people, not so much for funding sources but creativity? Are you worried that the creativity is going to it's either going to go underground? What's going to happen to it right now? What does it happen? Are you seeing any happenings or things happening to it right now?
I think I'm Black in America.
I noticed that too.
So I'm always worried. So even before this is going down, I'm always of the belief that what is here today is not promised tomorrow. So I'm always working from that
standpoint already. So it's like, okay, they're like, what else is new?
Yeah.
Okay.
I also think that historically, as a Black person in America, when our backs are pushed up against the wall, we have historically pushed back and created some of our most creative things.
Yeah, one of them.
Exactly. Literally, exactly. Being birthed out of literally the Bronx being burning and it being a rising phoenix that comes out of it. So the weird masochist part of me is like, I feel like something amazing is about to happen because we're being pushed and forced to create something that needs something amazing to come out of it. It's either that or we fall, and we haven't fallen yet. We've only continued to rise.
Now that's spoken like a true Haitian.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I'm coming from, you know what I'm saying?
That right there.
We led the first revolution, so I have faith. I think that I don't share this sentiment with a ton of artists, and I see a lot of my students that are extremely worried. I see a lot of my peers that are extremely worried. So I like to maintain my positivity, so hopefully I can be an example that other folks can continue to bring to other folks, and they can bring that positivity back to their the communities in different ways.
Getting some amazing inspiration from Cliff Notez, who's going to be over at the Museum of Science, and that's coming up literally in a few days. And if you want to give the times and how people can actually, if they want to get some tickets to go to check this out.
Yeah, you can. The show's going to be at 7:30. Doors are at 7. It's a tight fit. It's an hour-long show, so you can't show up at 7:45 and expect the show. The show's going to start at 7:30. It's at the Museum of Science in the Planetarium. You can get tickets at wild.is. That's wild.is. Or you can go to the Museum of Science website. Or you can just type in Cliff Notez Live Under the Dome. There's like 6 different places that you can go and get tickets right now. Shout outs to Do 617 and Arts Boston, Boston Calendar, all those folks that have been giving us some good coverage.
Now you do so many things. You wear so many hats. I mean, do you even have time to collaborate with other people?
That's all I do.
Okay,
That's what makes it easier to wear all these different hats.
Okay, so are there other things or people or places that you want? You're like saying yourself, in the back of your head, I want to collaborate with them in some kind of way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I'm at the point in my career now where I am not concerned about social media appearance or numbers, because I know my impact is a lot bigger than what the amount of likes I get on one specific post. And that has allowed me to let go and reach out to and work with so many different folks, because I'm not worried about I need to post this and I need to post this, and I'm just working with everybody. I was just talking about the play that I've been working on with BAA and the Huntington Theater, where a ton of people have been experiencing new Cliff Notes music and didn't realize that they were experiencing new Cliff Notes music. I love that feeling of people just being involved with my art and not knowing that they're involved with my art, because I've been able to reach a lot more people that way. So with that, I've been working with a lot of other artists. I think with We Black Folk, that has opened up my ability to work with even more artists and get them booked on stage. I just looked the other day. I think we booked about 70 artists this year so far.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. Shout outs to my team. Juanita and Nandini, thank you for everything, for all your help. And Tim Hall as well. I think collaboration is what keeps me excited. I can't help but be fans of so many folks in the city. There's so much talent in the city. There's so much talent in this room.
There's definitely a lot of talent in this room. Trying to keep me on point, trying to keep me grounded and stuff like that. So thank you for sharing about the your live under the dome. You've won a lot of awards. I mean, are there any you're most proud of?
I think I'm proud of the ones that are more involved with community and the community that I've built. I've been grateful to win some individual awards, but it means more to me when I win an award that is shared with other folks and that is touching more folks. But I think it's just more of like a community collaborator, and those are the type of awards that I really like to lean towards. I think that those last longer. Although I am working for my EGOT, but
okay.
But I think any ones that are,
for people who don't know, that's an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything that is more community oriented are going to be the things that I hold near and dear to my heart. And that's not just awards, but just grants and things that I can put physical money back into other people's pockets as well.
So if people are looking to find you online, how can people find out more about you?
If folks want to find me, I think priority is going to be mailing list and the website, wiild.is, wild.is. The secondary, you can head over to my socials, Cliff Notes on the thing, CLIFNOTE, 2 Z's at the end, not just one. Shoot me an email. Let's work together. Let's chat. I also do a lot of artist coaching via Assets for Artists as well. So if you're an artist and you want to chat more with me and you live in Massachusetts, they will pay for you to meet with me. So check them out, Assets for Artists, and the Arts Action Consortium as well as another great resources for artists out there. Who I know you asked about how to find me, but I'm also
it's all
if
good.
You find me, I'm gonna send you just some money.
like I said at the beginning, at the top, when you ask you for the Cliff Notes, it definitely is the short version, because there's a lot more layers underneath for you and with you, and I'm grateful for that with you, and I hope that those layers continue to the point where you're just a whole volume of encyclopedias that people are like, yeah, that's Cliff Notes. He do.
Oh, that's one I completely forgot. One of my biggest. You asked me people that pass on.
Yeah.
I got Jay-Z.
I didn't expect that.
Jay-Z broke down for me in a lot of different ways and showed me, one, how to go straight from hip hop to these other realms.
Okay.
I have problems with Jay-Z as an adult and understanding of how capitalism works, but I also have to understand the influence that he had to teach me, to bring me to where I'm at today.
Okay. And I guess I would be remiss if I didn't ask you that one little thing and revisit that quick thing about AI that you didn't like.
I'm not afraid of AI. That's what I was going to say.
Oh, you were not afraid of it. Okay.
AI cannot recreate me. I dare to try. But
you do too much, bro. There's no way it can keep up. There's no way it can keep up.
Yeah. I think I was talking with Eric upstairs.
Okay.
and he was asking about that, and I was saying I think AI is potentially going to allow for the resurgence of physical media, and authentic media is going to become more valued because of it. Because we're seeing so much fake stuff, we're gonna hold on to things that are 70 millimeter. We're gonna hold on to physical tapes. We're gonna hold on to CDs because we know that this is authentic media. That's gonna become more of a valuable thing.
Interesting.
At least that's my hope. I think I can see it going that way too.
All right. Well, I will be looking for more chapters from Cliff Notes.
Yeah, I'll write some books.
and you will do other things undoubtedly that will be loving to check it out. So continued success to you, brother.
My pleasure, man.
All
Thank
right.
you for having
Cliff
me.
Notes, everybody. I'm Mo Wilkes from Studio 889. Thank you very much for checking us out and chilling with us. And we out.
Peace.